everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, welcome. My name is Ella. For today we're going to take a little bit of a witchcraft bookshelf tour. Okay, also I don't know why I decided to wear a short sleeve dress today, because it's definitely not that warm yet, but it's fine. Yeah, now quick disclaimer, just I have been collecting these books since I am God, I can't even say that. So I started my witchcraft or Wicca specifically journey. I'm not a practicing Wiccan anymore, but I started with Wicca when I was 10, 11, more likely 11. But I got a lot of my books already before that, gifted especially from my mother and my grandma, that already were kind of into esoteric and like more on the new age side of things, to be fair, but a little bit of folk magic here and there too, though that term wasn't really a thing back then. I'm gonna mention that or at least not in the widespread circles. So you're gonna see a lot of books that are either really old or slightly outdated, or you're just gonna see a lot of books that I collected over many years. I've been practicing for 17 years now, so you're gonna see a lot of books here. Obviously this is not something that everyone needs. A lot of these books I could probably just sell or donate. I will say I love having a lot of books, a little bit of a hoarder. So yeah, let's get straight into these books. Okay, I've placed you over here. So we're gonna start with the most obvious, which are, we've focused on here, but we're gonna focus on my books, or my book first. So we've got my book, the original in English, then we've got it in Spanish, and then we've got it over here in German. I am currently still waiting for the Hungarian version of my book. DK is sending it to me, but it hasn't arrived yet. So that's my book that I wrote. It is 150 spells, and it's very beginner and advanced friendly, with an entire introduction on what is witchcraft, what is magic, how does it work, as well as how to write your own spells, and a compendium at the end. Now I'm not going to go into every single detail of all of these books I'm going to be showing you, because that would take us 3 hours. And this is more of a little bit of a tour, but yeah. And then I've got two over here. I'm not sure if you can see them. They're just diaries. They're old journals. And then here I have a couple of family photos. I'll scoot you over to a little bit higher. Okay, I'm gonna place you so that I can actually see the titles myself. All right. Okay, actually I'm probably gonna have to do this a little bit differently. All right. Well, I don't want to pull every single book from my shelf, or maybe I will. So I'm gonna just show you this shelf with pulling it down from the shelf. I'm not gonna do that for every single of the books, especially as we get further up. So we've got this one right here, which is The Sacred Magic of Abramelin the Mage. Okay, so we've got, for example, this here. Over here is my Troy books and Three Hands Press books. They're kind of collector edition books, or books that I just like to have a little bit more on display because they're a little bit more special, I suppose. They're also the type of books that I at the moment gravitate more towards. So we've got, for example, this one here by Troy Books, which is this beautiful gold foil one. Then we have, I'm gonna show you this one as well. We've got Silent as the Trees by Gemma Gary. This is one of these that I can really highly recommend by Gemma. Oh, I can recommend all of her books, but I really like this one. As you can also see, I like to tab my books. I also like to take notes in my books. It allows me to actually take in the information a lot better. I don't know if it's because of years and years of school program that now my brain works that way, but yeah, I really like that. I can focus better. I have ADHD, and reading a book sometimes can, you just start reading and you're not actually taking in the information, and you're what the hell did I just read for the last paragraph or two? So this way I feel I pay more attention and I take in the information better, and yeah, it's just more fun that way. So I've been doing this for couple of years now, and it's my favorite. So if you want to try that out, highly recommend just regular tabs and a highlighter. This one is a really good one. Then The Black Toad, also by Gemma Gary. If you've watched my England vlog, you may have seen this book, because that's when I got it. It was a recommendation by Elia the Red-Headed Witch. Thank you. It's kind of the one that really started me on the more folk magic path in terms of reading material. So this one was amazing, and I got it in Glastonbury. Actually, I have it was Courtyard Books in Glastonbury, and it was an £18.99. So yeah. Then we have the No Manuscript Part 1 and Part 2. Now I know that the Spökenkika actually just made like a review on those. I'm not sure on both, if they're both available or not, but I know one of them is definitely available on their YouTube channel, so I'll link that down below. They are interesting, but a couple of misinformation pieces are in here, and it's always tricky with that because then you're kind of like, what can I trust, what can I not trust with books? Now I will say most books are gonna have a little bit of information here and there, it happens, but yeah, you know, keep that in mind. Traditional Witchcraft by Gemma Gary is amazing as well. Treading the Mill by Nigel Pearson. I will say his writing style is interesting. I like the book, but it's almost a little judgy, which I like. I like a little bit of like dark humor and sarcasm thrown in there, but it is a little bit at times where I was like, okay. Under the Witching Tree by Corinne Boyer. Under the Bramble Arch by Corinne Boyer. I don't have Under the Dragon Root by Corinne Boyer yet. It is on my list, but they are amazing books. Corinne Boyer is probably, together with Gemma Gary and Roger J. Horn, they're kind of my favorites, like that little trio. I love them. Also the cover is gorgeous, and it's a little bit of an not even an encyclopedia, I wouldn't necessarily call that either. It's just a collection of specific type of plants, and then each book is a, you know, like more trees or more herbs and things like that, shrubs, and like their folklore, which is really cool if you want like a little bit of a what plant can I use, or what plant would I like to connect to. Moving on to, I'll go over here, the side. Also, in case you are wondering, my Ouija board is from Pandora Witch Shop, which I absolutely adore. I've done an entire video on using the Ouija board if you're interested in that, but I love it. Also, all of their things, absolutely gorgeous, so I can highly recommend. And then any kind of crystal you see in here, or you know, any kind of decor, they're from our shop if you would like to check that out. The link is in the description as well, of course, or here on the title page. Then we have some more Troy Three Hands Press books over here. So we've got, for example, Gemma Gary's The Charmer's Psalter, I don't know how you pronounce that. So that's just like a really cute little one. Then we've got, I've kind of organized these here. Oh look, more tabs. A little bit by genre. So here we've got a little bit more of like plant poison type of thing, ointments and stuff. For example, Dream Divination Plants in the Northern European Tradition, Corinne Boyer. It's a very small one, but I really enjoyed it a lot too. I will say what I've noticed with Corinne's work is occasionally paragraphs, and I know it's like in the front she like mentions that she does that I've read that same paragraph in another of her books. So it's, for example, a paragraph about a piece of plant information folklore, and she'll take that same paragraph and like reuse that paragraph a little bit. So sometimes you might notice. The Devil's Dozen, also by Gemma Gary. I've heard that she's writing one about the more female, I guess, spirit. So this one's really cool. It's like kind of just rituals. I will say this one is like a bit more advanced, let's say, because she doesn't give you exact instructions, which I really like, because it kind of allows you to adapt it to your own practice, and it kind of also doesn't assume that you are a complete beginner or that you need everything spoon-fed to you, so I really like that. By Moonlight and Spirit Flight is another one. This one is by Michael Howard, Three Hands Press. It's a very small book as well. It's really thick paper. It's only like 60, well, if you include the bibliography, it's 69 pages. So it's really, really tiny, but it is on the Witch's Sabbath, Witch's Ointment. I really like this one. My favorite ever, Plants of the Devil, which I know I have mentioned so many times. Again, Corinne Boyer. Artwork in here is gorgeous too. Also Three Hands Press. And this one really, really kind of kickstarted my interest in the poison path, and all of the kind of poisonous plants that I'm working with right now was definitely inspired by this book. I do have a video on my poison path journey. I Again, link below. Now another one that I really like by Corinne, also look at the tabs. Here we go. So this one is The Witch's Cabinet, also Corinne Boyer, of course, also Three Hands Press. And this one is a bit more of a, several plants. So whereas this one, the plants of the devil, are very specific to the devil, like plants that are associated with the devil. This one, including like things like parsley. This one here is more about witchcraft plants in general. So they're not exclusive to just the devil. So you're gonna have a couple of different plants that have associated or have been associated to witchcraft, magic, spirit flight, and things of that nature. And then we're returning to Gemma Gary, Wished Waters by Troy, and I should put that on the other side, to be honest. This is The Cult of Magic and Water. I haven't finished this one yet, but this one is really, yeah, so far really cool. I need to finish these books. Some of them I have not like finished, which is going to be a theme in this bookshelf. Not all are finished or even started. But if you have actually listened to the very first podcast episode when our podcast was still called Down Hollis Well, then you will understand that wells and bodies of water, they are kind of like magical hotspots, and especially like folkloric, historically, like really goes really far back. There is so much lore with water, like natural bodies of water, or even wells, which are not necessarily natural, but yeah, so I'm really excited to actually read this properly. Okay, we'll move you one up somehow. I'm probably not gonna be able to like be in frames. You'll just see my finger. Okay, we have Clovestone Workings. I really like that one. Can I go a little closer maybe? I might have to hold the camera, so it might not be like super steady. Clovestone Workings, I liked it. I've heard a couple of things here and there about the author potentially being like weird, but then like problematic, but then apologizing, so I'm not 100% sure on that. An Apostate's Guide to Witchcraft by Moss Matthew. I actually wrote a little blurb for this one, so this one was a really cool one for finding your magic, especially with, I feel like personally, what I took out of it is if you have like a religious traumatic background, which a lot of people obviously do, so that's a really cool one. The Witch's Sabbath by Kelden, another one that I really can recommend if you're into, again, the traditional folklore about witchcraft and ointments and things like that. The Witch's Ointment by Hatsis. I haven't finished this one, but this was a very cool resource, specifically, again, of course, on the ointments and, you know, all of the herbs, plants that are associated with it, folklore around the spirit flight, and yeah, that nature. Treadwell's Book of Plant Magic. This one is, Treadwell's is a bookstore in London, and the owner wrote this book. It's like a little encyclopedia, like a couple of different witchy plants that I thought was quite cute. Cunning Words, A Grimoire of Tales and Magic by Marshall, Witch of Southern Light. You might have seen him on Instagram. Amazing resource. This one is really cool because it is written in a perspective of like narrative storytelling, and I really like that. It's a very unique way of writing a book in my opinion. Call of the Runes, I haven't finished this one, but I've heard really good things. I'm pretty sure Bente, the Norse Witch, has done a review. If I can find it, I'll leave it linked below. Magia, Hungarian Myth, Magic, and Folklore. I was gifted this by Llewellyn a few months ago, and I have yet to read it. But if that is something that sounds interesting to you, you know, obviously have a look. The Way of the Witch, Danielle Lewitt. I was gifted this, but I haven't started it yet properly. I flicked through it. It's a very beginner-friendly book if you're looking for a beginner book to start with or to gift someone. Protection and Reversal Magic by Jason Miller. I'm gonna be real for you for a second. I'm not loving Jason Miller's works. I do glean information from them, like they definitely have information in them that is worth, in my opinion, having the books, but I can't say that I love them simply because personally we're hopping around cultures a little bit too much in terms of spells and incantations being in different languages that I don't speak, where I'm not really sure if I understand what the point is of that. And then in general, there's certain practices where I'm like, again, you know, like why would I be incorporating practices from different cultures that I personally just have no connection with? I have nothing to do with them. It feels a little bit appropriative, even if it is done potentially respectfully. It's just not my cup of tea. Psychic Witch by Matt Oren. I've done a review on this one years ago. It's one of those classics that you've absolutely seen the cover of. Mine was outside in the rain, so it's gotten a little thicker, but it's a first edition. So, you know, so this one's a great one if you want to work on your spiritual intuition and your magic energy, let's say, yeah, you know, as the title suggests. It has really cool exercises in there. The Beginner Witch's Handbook by Leah Middleton is, of course, my best friend's first book. She's coming out with another book soon, so keep an eye out on that. But this one is a really cool one if you are wanting to get into folk magic, if you want to get into ancestral practices, and if you're a beginner, that is a really cool one. And also if you're an advanced practitioner but again want inspiration for your folk magic, I really like that one. The Crooked Path by Keldon. Keldon is the same one as The Witch's Path over here. This was another one that I think is a great one for beginners if you are wanting to get into traditional magic. The Black Arts. Haven't read that one yet. I've heard good things. The title seems a little bit weird, especially in modern times. You don't usually say black and white magic anymore, at least not in the US. It is more common still in Europe and England and things like that. You will see those terms still being used because I guess we just have different connotations. But yeah, Taking Up the Runes. I was recommended this by the author of this book, the owner of that store. Christina recommended this book. I have heard really good things. I haven't like read it fully yet. I've just kind of flicked through. Traditional Wicca by Thorn Mooney, as well as The Witch's Path by Thorn Mooney. If you want to get into Wicca, these are the books that I would recommend to you at this point in this day and age. Her books are so well so well written. She is a teacher as well, I believe. I believe she's got a PhD in religious studies, so she really knows, and you can tell in the tone and everything, like this is not, you know, like this is really well researched, and she speaks out of having years and years of experience with Wicca, and I feel like she does Wicca a lot of justice with her books. A lot of times people have really negative connotations nowadays with Wicca, and she, I feel like, actually presents real Wicca and the Wicca that, you know, I think is how it is meant to be. The Witch's Path is a advanced book in case you as a practitioner are a little bit more advanced and you're not really sure where to go anymore. Perhaps you're a little bit burnt out, or perhaps you just aren't really, you know, sure anymore. You're kind of done with all the beginner books. So that was a really cool one. Wicca, A Guide for the Solitary Practitioner, and also Living Wicca. As you can see, these are my cunning books. So of course, you know, we gotta have our Cunningham in here. So this one was one of my first books that I got as a teenager. I got this probably with like 13 or something. It's kind of one of those early Wicca books. Living Wicca is, I believe, the second one. That kind of is like, it goes together with this one. Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. Again, a staple. This one is amazing if you want just in general plants and herbs and things like that. Again, it is a little older. Earth, Air, Fire, Water, also by Cunningham. I really like this one. I feel like we need to return a little bit more to this type of magic. Sometimes I feel like what we see, especially online, you see a lot of trends, and then you see everyone talking about those specific trends. Like for example, right now the trend is of course folk magic, and sometimes I think we are kind of like replacing, not necessarily replacing, but sometimes it feels like when we move on to another subject within witchcraft, we forget about past practices and past ways of doing magic. And now we are, for example, doing a lot of charm bags and spell jars and, you know, puppets and things like that. And then this one here, I feel like deserves more recognition. Again, working with just the elementals, you know, the spirits of nature. The European Goddess and Spirit Companion book. This is an oracle deck that I was gifted. It's gorgeous. If you want to have an oracle deck on European goddesses, definitely recommend. This is just a companion book to that. Celtic Myths and Legends. I got this from my aunt years ago when I was a preteen, I'm pretty sure. I haven't read this one, to be honest, to be fair, because, you know, I got it that long ago. It is quite small text. I should read it eventually. Green Magic, one of those old Llewellyn books. Again, one of the earlier books that I got gifted actually by my cousin, who also is a practitioner of, you know, magic. She got me this. I'm not sure if this was like a 12th birthday gift or something along those lines. The Witch's Survival Guide. I wrote, here, my name's here on the title. I wrote a little intro for this. This was a really cool one and actually goes back into the elements that I really think is a great one that we should have a look at more again. So this was a cool one. It is a bit more out of a Wiccan perspective, but I don't think that's a problem at all. And she writes about how you can use the elements to kind of, especially if you are struggling with anxiety or you're just struggling with this very modern world, how you can connect and ground and how you can use these elements for your magic. Magic of Birthdays is by Hannah Hawthorne, Simply Witched. You probably have seen her on TikTok or also on YouTube and Instagram. Rituals, spells, and what is it? Recipes for under your solar return. If you're into astrology, then this one is a great one. It has like fill in the blanks type structure. So it's a really cool one, especially if you're a beginner or if you're younger, that I think is a good one to gift as well. The Celtic Myths, I got this from the British Museum. I got this one and I got another one which I'll show you later. It's on the bottom. So yeah, that's that. The Book of Ancestors by Claire Goodchild. This one is super cool, also gorgeous, and she also wrote the next one, the Book of Seances. So if you're into divination, tarot work, and working with your ancestors, both of these are really great for that. I've got my little Clan of Megaloid information here because that's my ancestors. So if you didn't know, my dad's side is English and Scottish descent, so my grandparents were still born in England. We've got Herbal Magic, Annabelle, so Annie, you obviously know Annie, The Green Witch's Guide to Herbal Magic. This is a great one, gorgeous book as well, of course, and full of green magic recipes and how to do oils and tinctures and all that good stuff. And now we've got my old school books, Silver Ravenwolf. You know, I love her. I'm gonna say this, she's a queen. I know that people have mixed feelings about her. Fair, you know, fair. She's one of those early 90s, 2000 authors, and I will say I love her. Anyway, so this is the Magic Cauldron and To Ride a Silver Broomstick. I don't have the third one. I never got the third one. I don't know why, but these are classics. This one's upside down, so I'm gonna show you this title here instead. This one, as you can see, look at that old tab. I must have gotten this book when I was 13, 14 and I already used tabs back in the day. Look at that. This was a bit of a charm book, spell book, you know. I loved her work. I had so many of her books. I did sell a couple of them, which I do regret, but I still have the very first. I'll show you that later. Solitary Witch. This one was my go-to book as a teenager for spells. Like, this had everything. This was my holy grail of a book. I'm not sure if I would necessarily do it anymore, but this, yeah, Book of Shadows. Like, this was my go-to. Oh my god, the spells that I did with this book. Then we have Ceremonial Magic, Llewellyn's Complete Guide, or book, sorry, of Ceremonial Magic. This one is really cool if you're into historical parts of witchcraft specific, of course out of the like lens, written in that style. And then the Book of Correspondences by Llewellyn. This is honestly such a staple. This one is super, super handy to have. It's just lists upon lists. It's kind of like a huge Excel sheet with all the information you could possibly need about all the different things that you could possibly ever think of. So it has all of the different gods, it has all of the different celestial bodies, it has the different herbs, it has the different crystals, days of the week, you name it, it has it. And it's just one of those books that you can open up and yeah, be like, okay, I need a love spell ingredient, and then you can open this and look that up. And then of course another one of my favorites. I'm gonna pull this one out for you. Hi, one moment please. Okay, hello. Again, this one has like tabs, and I need to show you these tabs because they are so bleached. Do you see the color difference and how bleached out they are? So I've been using tabs for a long time. This is also one of my first books that I ever... Oh, hair, what are you doing? One sec, you go back there. Yeah, this one also was one of those very early books that I got. I remember buying this, how old was I? 13 or 14, I think. And I bought this, I saw it in the store and I was like, oh, I need this one, Mom. It is so banged up. It is so old at this point. And it is, yeah, the classic course in Wicca for 20, well, that's cute, for 25 years. Let's see when this was published. I think in the back in the days. It's a first edition 31 print. No, sorry, which one is it? Second edition revised and expanded 14th printing 2012. First edition 31 printings. Okay, yeah, so this one must have been 2012 and I'm pretty sure I got it 2012 or 13. At least this print is. But I'm pretty sure, yeah, it says 1986 and 2002 by Raymond Buckland. And this was like an actual course, which I loved. Very typical. Look, I even highlighted it. Certain sections. What is that? Like entering and leaving the circle. Yeah, so this one was like an actual course on how, and look at that, you know, like you could write your own little, I'm pretty sure I have written in certain parts. Oh my gosh, going down memory lane. I know I have written in here too. Oh look, hello, the one and only. And it was like an actual course. Like you could read this and it was kind of like having a course of Wicca. And this was like where I got so much of my like Wiccan practice from. It was glorious, I loved it. So I remember there were some things in here where I was like, you know, like there's like nudity. But yeah, so this one is one of those like gems. Love it. Okay, taking you down a notch. Damn, this tripod. It's not what it used to be. Okay, welcome back. Okay, I'm just gonna sit on the floor now as we go through these next rows. There we go. Okay, cool. So what do we have here? Now I have some crystals. Don't mind me just putting those away. Also, real quick, this shelf once again is from Pandora. Absolutely love it. My old labels for my oils. How cute. We do still have this on our store, by the way. So let's start over here. We have, this is kind of like a little bit of a German row, including academic works. So we have Brother Grimm classic. Why do I have the Brother Grimm in my witchcraft shelf? Because there's so much like stories in here about folklore and little charms and how also people used to view the world in a much more in a mystic sense as well. We also have the preservation of the goddess Holle in here, so thank you for the Brothers Grimm. I know sometimes they get some slack. In my humble opinion, I think it is unfair to judge them the way that some people do, simply because they were a product of their time. And I know that people are like, oh, well, they've collected all these stories, and then they just kind of like bunched them all together, called them just German, and also like Christianized some of them. And it's like, yes, but you have to remember the time of where they were, like context matters. So yeah. Then we have Hexerei, Magie und Volksmedizin. This is another academic one. This is from the Museum for Folk Studies in Hamburg. That is an older book. I'm pretty sure it's not in print anymore, but you can find it in like online antique bookstores. It is a bit more northern Germany. What do I have in here? Oh, bookmark. But I thought that this one was quite cool for, yeah, just again, historical view of magic. Then we have this one here, which is Plants in the Volkslife. Pflanzen im Volksleben, yeah. And as you can see, we've got the mandrake root over here as the cover. And this one is written in Old High German. It is a really old book. It's from 1969, at least it says up here. I'm not sure if that's actually the print date. No, it's from 1925. So this one's from 1925, and it's a pretty small book. It's in Old German with illustrations, and it's super cool. I really like this one. Then we have the Norse myths. Hold on, I'm gonna put you a little closer. Norse myths. This one is also from the British Museum. I haven't read it yet, but I know Carlos my husband has looked into it. Latvian ethnic symbols for strength and protection. So if you didn't know, Latvia and Lithuania were the last pagan countries to become Christian. And as a matter of fact, Jakob Grimm has actually written in Germania about, or Teutonic mythology in English, about the Livonian tribes, and has actually mentioned that in his belief and in his research, paganism has survived up until the 17th century in Latvia, and you can tell, in Lithuania as well. And you can really tell, like when I've lived in Riga, the amount of animistic traditions, the amount of pagan traditions that are still alive, like for example Yani Ligua, midsummer festivals, are so fascinating and beautiful. And yeah, and you can also see these symbols absolutely everywhere. If you ever go to Latvia, you're gonna see all of these symbols in there. Hans-Peter Dürr Traumzeiten. This one is Dreamtime, I'm pretty sure in English. It's a very small one, but very thick, and also the tiniest of texts you ever did see. Amazing. It does swap around between German and English a lot, and I think even French here and there, which is a little bit difficult to read. But this one is an amazing one if you are once again looking into ointments, spirit travel, and things of that nature. Now it is interesting because this one was 10 euros, I believe, in the German version, and I think 120 in English. So that's that on linguistics. I always say languages are the key to understanding culture, and if you really want to get into folk magic, learn the language of your ancestors. Lexikon der Dämonen und Elementargeister, Leander Petzold, which by the way, I know that he has other books that I really want to get my hands on, but this one is amazing. So this one is German again, and we're just talking about, it's kind of like a compendium of different spirits in German, and not only German, but mostly German folk magic. What do we have here? Pentagram, or the witches. Drudenfuß. I'm gonna have to make a whole video on the Drudenfuß, to be honest, and Druden in general, which are the, or is the old term for witchcraft, or witches, not even, you know. Oh, we've got a bunch of different spirits in here. I must have marked this one. Aufhocker, yeah. So this one is nightmares, essentially. Atzmann. Yeah, there's so much cool stuff in here. Hold on, let me just put this back. Okay, Ägyptische Geheimnisse. This one is an interesting one because it is written in, gosh, I never remember. 11th century, 12th century, something like that. Old German spells and charms, even though it says Egyptian on the title. They already back then in Germany liked to make things more mysterious by outsourcing or calling it differently than it actually was. It is of course very German, but they like to say Egyptian because it was more like, ooh, magic. Yeah. Then we have this Buch der Verbotenen Künste by Johannes Hartlieb. This is one of my absolute favorites, as you can maybe see with all the tabs. This one was really, really amazing. He writes it for his, I'm pretty sure his brother-in-law. He's a Christian, also 14th century. And he basically is like, these are spells, do not do them. I will explain them to you in great detail so that you are warned and don't by accident do them, which I love. Then we have the Witch's Hammer. You might be wondering, why on earth do I have the Witch's Hammer? This one is by the Cambridge University, which I have heard is one of the better translation. It's basically Malleus Maleficarum, which of course was the two monks, our little German monks that caused, or not only caused, they didn't cause it, but they contributed to the witch trials in Europe, where of course an estimate of about 40,000 people in Germany alone were killed, 60,000 people in total, and let's not even talk about the consequences of the witch burning times. And this book was basically a tool guide, how to find witches, how to hunt them, how to torture them. And I have this one because it is good historical research, and also he, once again, in a similar vein as Johannes Hartlieb over there, they like to include charms of like, do not do these are evil. Here they are in great detail. And I think it's important to know your history so that you don't repeat it. Queens of the Wild by Ronald Hutton. This is a Yale published book. I really like this one. I thought this was great. I will say the specific part about Holle, or Holda, you name her, is a little lacking. He definitely does specify and specialize in English folk tradition, pagan history, and I think that's his forte. I will say there were things where I was like, oh, this is a little bit, you know, missing information or missing a little bit of like context, but I'm not sure if he's done a deep dive into that specific subject, because it's kind of like, you know, you can't obviously know every subject like deeply. But in general, I really like this one. I think this is a good one for a little bit of a perspective, especially when everyone is always talking about ancient pagan traditions. And it's like, no, they're actually not actually that ancient a lot of times. A lot of times they are kind of like brought back up by the Romantic era, and yeah, it's kind of a very critical look at ancient paganism. An ABC of Witchcraft by Doreen Valiente. This one is another encyclopedia. Really nice to just flick to a word that you would like to know the meaning of. A Witch's Bible by Janet and Stuart Farrar. Another one of those classic old books that I got when I was a teenager, which is definitely not readable, or was not by me at least readable, because it was difficult to read, to be honest with you, and I've never finished it. But it's one of those classic books. It had also pictures in here that I again was like, naughty, naughty. So, you know, it is a traditional look at witchcraft back in the day. It has certain topics that you would nowadays think are taboo, but I feel like are fascinating to read about. And I think are a little bit more, yeah, the traditional witchcraft path, the traditional old school Wicca, before, you know, the Facebook moms got their hands on it. The Triumph of the Moon, Oxford University, again by Ronald Hutton. This one is a famous one. History of modern pagan witchcraft. This is a great one that I think most people should read. I know that this one is a more academic approach, of course, but I find that really important, especially about witchcraft, to read out of a more historical point of view, because a lot of the books, especially for example, remember Raymond Buckland, he mentions something like, oh, there were 1 million witches burned in the burning times. It's like, where the hell did you get that number from? Or Wicca is an ancient tradition. It's like, no, let's be real. And Ronald Hutton really clears that up. The Witch by Ronald Hutton, A History of Fear from Ancient Times to the Present. This one I have not finished either, but it was a really good one from what I have started reading. It's an older book as well at this point, as you can tell. Honestly, Ronald Hutton is just a great resource. Is he perfect? No, but I really like his work. So, moving on to the left over here. Is it the left? No, it's the right for you. We have my Roger J. Horn section. Also this planchette, which I'm gonna just show you. Also from Pandora Witch Shop, sorry. Folk Witchcraft. This one is an excellent one if you want to get into folk magic. This is the revised 2nd edition. This video is getting really long, so I'm gonna start like moving a little bit quicker. A Broom at Midnight by Roger is one that has exercises if you want to deepen your practice, if you really want to get into sending your spirit fetch and working with spirits and things of that nature. The Witch's Devil by Roger J. Horn, another one. I just love all of the folkloric devil books. I'm trying to get I'm trying to get my hands on all of them. This was a really nice one. Had a section on poisonous plants as well. The Charmer's Root, I haven't like finished this one yet. It's his newest release, I'm pretty sure, and it is kind of a little bit of an encyclopedia on like witchcraft plants as well. The Witch's Art of Incantation is essentially a spell book, spoken charms, spells and curses and folk witchcraft, 2nd edition. This is a really cool one if you need inspiration for spells. Okay, we have finally gotten to the bottom of this video, of this shelf. So this is another chest by Pandora Witch Shop. As you can hear, I've got stuff in here, so I'm not gonna pull that out fully. And it's kind of holding my bookshelf together a little bit. Okay, we've got some more books down here, some German ones, some ones that I don't necessarily grab or gravitate towards as much anymore. And also down here we have books that I have yet to like read, or books that I was sent that I haven't even like put into the shelves properly yet. Let's get into here. We've got Slavonic fairy tales, so another book, hold on, I don't know why I'm so far away. Another book on Slavic, not another one, this is the first one I've mentioned here. Slavic fairy tales, again, it's just really great to see these fairy tales in, you know, how people viewed the world. I will say, these fairy tales are the funniest to me. There are certain ones where I could not believe that that's an actual fairy tale, and the ending of them. They're not your typical Brother Grimm type ones. Brother Grimm are really famous for basically turning fairy tales into like children's educational stories, and they a lot of times have a moral, and they a lot of times have a happy ending. This does not, let's say. This was my very first witchcraft book that I'm pretty sure started it all. So this one, hold on. This one is Teen Witch. in German. And I got that when I was 11. And yeah, that's the German cover of it. The pages are yellowed. And this was my little Bible back when I was 11. Also Silver Ravenwolf, of course. And then we have Love Spells by Silver Ravenwolf. Yeah, again, an old one. And I did sell a couple of mine that I had by her, unfortunately, but hey, why is this not? I think you're too big for here, so I'm gonna put you down there. Okay, we have a book on the German Rauhnächte, which are the 12 days of Christmas essentially in Germany and the traditions that you do. We have Wolf-Dieter Stoll, Urmedizin. Wolf-Dieter Stoll is a great resource in terms of ethnobotany, and yeah, so if you're German, I know that some people have like certain issues with some of the things that he's said, but you know, obviously every book, in my opinion, you need to use your brain and discern and not just like take everything for yes, amen. We have Göttin Holle. This one is a great one on if you are looking into the German or Germanic goddess Holle, Holda, Berchta, and Berchta. This one is just a huge book on her with all of her plants and all of her lore and like recipes and all that good stuff. The Poison Herbal by Kobe Michael. I really like this one. I will say there's a little bit of like information in here that I cannot recommend on safety and things like that, but generally speaking, I did really like this one. As you can see, I tapped the absolute shit out of it. The Black Book of Jonathan Notbristle is one I haven't yet read, but I have heard really good things. Again, it is also written in a novel style, so it's written out of like you're kind of following a main character teaching you these folk pieces of magic that I'm pretty sure are his own discoveries. Like it's basically a UPG style book. Icelandic Plant Magic by Albert Björn. Now this one is really, really cool. Albert Björn is an amazing resource in general, especially over on Instagram, but I know he has a second book as well. But this one is folk herbalism of the North. So if you're looking at more Nordic folk magic, this one is really cool. And it's also written by someone that actually lives up there and knows the culture. Die alte Göttin und ihre Pflanzen. So this one is again on mostly Goddess Holle, the old goddess and her plants. So this one is specific to the German goddess and her plants. I have two lying here. We've got the Astrology Bible. I'm pretty sure I'm selling this one on my Vinted, if you want to have a look at that. And then we've got the Wicca Cookbook. This is an old book as well that I still have. It's just recipes. And then on the very bottom here, we have a couple of books that I was gifted, for example. So we have DK's A History of Ghosts and Spirits and the Supernatural. DK does the most gorgeous books, obviously. So this one is, I have not read it yet. The Compendium of the Occult is another one that I was recently gifted. It is by, who are you? Thames and Hudson, and it is another coffee table book, just like the DK one. Then we have, what do you call this one in English? Hexenmedizin. This one is also with Wolf-Dieter Stoll. This one is amazing. I really like this one. It is actually signed by Wolf-Dieter Stoll, like an actual signature, not just printed. I got that for my birthday, and I need to check again the title in English because it does exist in English too. And then we have Christian Reich, Der Heilige Hain, which I think I've mentioned in a reel at some point. Again, you know, Germanic plants and traditions, things of that nature. Then we've got, oh, this one actually is cool. I just got that for Christmas. Krampus. So this one is Krampus, Perchten, old German winter folk beings, the folkloric devil in the German and Alpine region. So if that is something that you're looking for, it's in English. Also, Alfred Noor has a podcast that I can highly recommend as well. Yeah. Latvian Tales of Magic. So we have another, technically you could call it a fairy tale book, and it is the most beautiful book ever. I'm pretty sure you can't even buy this online. I got this in Latvia, and it is, yeah, like gorgeous, and it has all of the folk tales, but they are very specific to, of course, Latvia, but also to magic. And I love that. I'm gonna read that to our kids one day. Then we have another fairy tale book down here. And then we have The Handmade Grimoire by Laura Derbyshire. This one is kind of like how to do your own grimoire in a scrapbook style, which I love, and it also includes pages at the very end that you can use the scrapbook papers out of. I haven't done that yet because I'm saving them, but I thought that was such a cool concept. Hold on, I'll just pull you over here a little bit more. Then we have a book on healing plants in German. We have, hold on, this one. I didn't like this one that much, to be honest. I found some misinformation straight off the bat, and then I had to put the book away because I was like, nah, not for me. But it is about German, the female trinity, and like, yeah, how do you call it? Like, what would you like, yeah. How do you explain this? It's a more academic book as well. Then we have Botanical Curses and Poisons. Another poison path book. I like this one. It's beautiful, obviously. It is a bit more of a coffee table book, but it does go over like a lot of these plants that I like to work with. And yeah, look at that, it's gorgeous. Hold on, this one just like fell apart. And then we've got my little Norse corner over here, to a degree the banished corner, because we've got Neil Gaiman over here that I do not recommend due to his sexual rape allegations. Then we've got Freya Aswin, Die Blätter von Yggdrasil, the leaves of Yggdrasil. I am again not really sure about her, what type of an author she is, so you know. Karl Spiesberger, Rune Magic. I think I got this one gifted, so I don't know how, you know, it is, but yeah, that's down there. We have the poetic, no sorry, is it the poetic or the prosa? We've got the Edda. We've got the Edda collection in here. Very pretty book, by the way, and it's just the stories essentially with a little bit of like context on the side, which I thought was quite cute. And then we've got 2020 to 2022 Rauhnächte again. So those are the German 12 Nights of Magic. A hair tie, a wild hair tile. Okay, then we have, oh gosh, we've got more books. We have Discover Your Psychic Type. Hold on, I'm gonna sit down here and do this way. Hi there. Hi. Okay, these are books that I'm currently selling on my Vinted, so I'll link that below. Psychic Type, this is another one that I got gifted. Really young age. I just, yeah, don't need it anymore. This book, German, Hexerklär, or like Witch Claire, is a German one. Heimische Hexenkunst. It was supposed to be on German kind of magic, and to be honest, it's just new age stuff. So I found this to be really useless. There's a couple of charms in here and spells in here where I was just like, where's this from? Where did you get this information? So I just don't really like that. Then we have Wicca by Harmony Nice. Now, this is about Wicca, of course, if you're wondering why I'm selling it. I just don't really need it, to be honest, anymore. And yeah, so that's why it's on that pile. And then we have Bohemian Magic by Veronica Varlau, which is a very scrapbook style book. It's very cool if you are, you know, into a little bit more of that sort of style and vibe. I'm selling this one as well just because I bought it. It's really nice, it's pretty. I, you know, flicked through it, but I just can't use it in my personal practice. All right, we're coming to an end. I don't want to do this. Okay, we're coming to an end here, you guys. All right, ignore this table. This is a shelf that I'm still working on. We've got this book that I cannot recommend less, like less. Flight of the Firebird. Kenneth Johnson is my nemesis. That he doesn't know about me, but no. The amount of misinformation in this book is actually astonishing. The amount of weird, creepy sexualization in this book, again, astonishing. The amount of cultural appropriation in the sense of like he goes to one area of like Russia and then says, this is Slavic. It's like, fuck off. He has one on Baltic one as well, Baltic paganism, and you can see maybe on my face what I think of that one. Again, full of misinformation. It is actually shocking that this is allowed to be published. Kenneth Johnson, no. Stay away from that author. Strong feelings for a book, hey? Then, what else do we have here? We've got the Kybalion, because, you know, of course we do. So this is just the Hermetic philosophy. I got this one because it's pretty. I'm gonna be really honest with you. I did read part of it. It's got gold edges. It's very pretty. Right, last four. We've got the old book that my mother and my grandmother used for tarot reading and learning about the tarot. It's a German one, so that's all it is. It's just the tarot, the meanings in German. Then we have Hildegard von Bingen. This is a Hildegard von Bingen Stan account, though she does talk about mandrake as being a devilish plant, and she's the first one recorded that we still have talking about mandrake being a plant of the devil. But Hildegard von Bingen is a, I'm pretty sure, 11th century nun and holy lady, and she was basically the pre-runner of medicine. Like, she and her herbal knowledge was like, she is a saint. She's a saint, and she has so much information about all of these plants, and we've got some in here and like recipes and things like that. And yeah, we owe this woman a lot. We've got another one that I was gifted by DK, Rebel Folklore by, who are you by? I see Sedgwick. Sedgwick. This one is a really cool one, very illustrative. It is basically different folk figures that have like a rebellious nature. So we've got, I think, like Robin Hood is in here. We've got, who else is here? Lorelei, German. We've got Muma Paduri, which, where are you from? Where are you from? Romania. We've got Baba Yaga, we've got Grilla, you know, we've got a bunch of Iceland. We've got Pesta, which is from Norway. There's a really interesting echo going on here. We've got the Banshee, so it's just that kind of book. And then we have this huge one, which is the Encyclopedia of 5,000 Spells by Judika Isles. Now, this one, whilst it is cool in many ways, it also does not give a shit about cultural appropriation. There's a lot of spells in here that are clearly collected just from all these different cultures, and they're just like amassed in this one big book. I mean, she did have to get to the 5,000 number somehow, so that is something that I would not recommend as a book. But, and in general, I find her work a little bit strange sometimes in that sense, a little bit like, I don't know, a little bit like, ooh, you know, yeah, bordering on cultural appropriation. However, if it is something that you are able to find in like a thrift store, for example, it is an interesting resource, especially because if you want to work just within your own culture, of course, you can just kind of like pick those spells that you are interested in and leave the rest, so that you don't by accident dabble with spirits that you probably shouldn't be. Oh, and then the last one, which, oh no, there's two more actually. We've got Christian Brunner's Alpine Witchery, which I have, I know, mentioned a few times now. This is Austrian folk magic lore and spellcraft. This is really cool. I haven't finished it yet, still, I know. But it's also very regional, so I live like 30 minutes from all of these, not all, but like so many places that he mentions in here. And it's just so nice. So if you are interested in alpine witchcraft and folklore, it is in English, have a look at this one. And it's actually written by someone that actually has like spent a really important amount of time here, not an important, big amount of time here, where it's like, oh, you're native, you know what you're talking about, you're not some American. You're not just some American going on holiday and then writing a book about their entire culture. And the last book that I'm going to be showing you is Green Mysteries Arcana Viridia by Daniel Schulke. Daniel Schulke also, where is that one? Beneficium. I just realized one of my books is missing. Weird. Did I use that in a vlog? Yes, it's lying right over there. It's not the last book. Anyway, Green Mysteries. The Green Mysteries is huge. It's expensive. It's limited prints, it's with gorgeous illustrations, and it's essentially one big huge encyclopedia with all of these different plants, including a lot of plants that usually you don't get because they're usually poisonous and they don't like to put those in books, and it's in this one. So I really like that, and I really like grabbing it. Now the last one that I'm gonna pull, wee, pretty light, is this one. It is Beneficium, also by Daniel Schulke. And this one is an amazing one. It is magic, witchcraft, and the poison path. So again, if you are, also excuse like the mess here, but if you're looking into working with poisonous plants, this one is a great way. This one is more advanced. This one has language that I don't think is suitable for a complete beginner, but it really goes into depth in some of these topics. It does not assume that you're a beginner, and it assumes that you have a brain and you're going to be able to use it. Not that other books don't, but it's just a book that really requires a little bit more critical thinking, and it requires like quite a bit of base knowledge already. It's not going to be overly explained. The language is not something that is necessarily suitable for everyone. I almost found it to a point where it was difficult for me to read too. I'm not gonna pretend that I was like, huh, easy breeze through. There were a lot of words that I had to stop, Google the meaning of, or reread the paragraph, because it is written a little bit more sophisticated, some might say. So yeah, so with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to see your books and your bookshelves, so I'm trying to make response videos happen, you guys. So do a response video, tag me in it so I can see your bookshelf video tour. I hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, if you'd like to support me or my channel, the best way to do so is of course to subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. You're also more than welcome to check out my Patreon as well as my Witchcraft store. All the links will be down in the description box, and if you'd like to join along for more, you can go check out my socials. Everything again in the description box. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. May you walk with your gods. Bye.